It's Wulf, and it's 15 first impressions. This one is about Skate. The new Skate is a free-to-play game, so this is one of these 15 first impressions where I just thought this was interesting, so I wanted to make a video about it. And also, I actually was invited to 2 of the betas before release of this game. So I've played it quite a bit, and I played quite a bit of Skate 3 and a little bit of Skate 1 and 2 previously, so I've spent quite a while playing Skate, and I thought that this was something I should cover. But this is not sent to me, but it is a free-to-play game, so you can check it out yourself if you want to. I recorded a little bit more than 15 minutes for this one, just because there was not really a lot going on in the game when I recorded, because I was still sort of in the early tutorial missions, but I was outside of the actual tutorial zone. So this video starts maybe like 15 or 20 minutes after what you would have seen like when you first start the game. Also, as I mentioned, I actually played a lot of Skate before it even came out, so I was in 2 of the early beta testing periods for it, and I wasn't really able to say anything about that because there was like an NDA and stuff you had to sign. I really didn't do that much during those periods. I think I was kind of more of like a stress tester than anything. I mean, I think they sent some forms that I could fill out, but then I was just way too busy with real life to actually manage to find time to fill them out, which I feel kind of bad about. But that being said, I actually did record gameplay of the game in its earlier states, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to upload that, because even though the terms and conditions, so far as I could tell, do say that you can upload like footage that you took beforehand once the game is actually released, which now it has been released, I think that the footage, like in the beta of the game, there were like these numbers that popped up on your screen, and I need to check, but I think those might be your IP address, because I think they were using it to try to like ban people who were streaming and making videos of the game early, so I need to investigate that a little bit. But that being said, I've just played this game quite a bit, even though it's not that old. So starting out with the mechanics of this game, it feels a lot like a Skate game. All of the controls are there, all of like the muscle memory that I had from Skate 3 works in this game. They haven't gone and made any like radical changes to how the flip it or flick it system, I don't remember exactly what it's called, I think it's flick it, how that whole system works for skateboarding, where you use the left analog stick to kind of control the direction you're going, and then the right analog stick you use to pull off tricks and stuff. And all of the tricks that I remembered from Skate 3 still work the same in this game. But something that I noticed really quickly about this Skate game is that there are actually tricks that are missing from previous Skate games. So something I noticed really quickly is that you can no longer skitch on the end of vehicles. If you haven't heard that term before, it pretty much means when you like grab onto the end of a truck or a car or whatever and like ride along with a vehicle. Not a good idea to do in real life, but I know in Skate 3 you can do it. And I should just mention real quick that a lot of my comparisons in this video are going to be to Skate 3 just because that's the other Skate game that I've spent the most time playing. Something else missing is dark side grinds. So those are in Skate 3, you could hold down R1 and do like a kickflip or whatever onto a railing, and instead of grinding on the underside of your board, you would flip the board over and you would grind on the side that has the grip tape on it, so like the top of your board, and that also doesn't seem to be in this new Skate game. And of course, these are things that they might add in later on, and I can almost imagine them maybe removing stuff like sketching in order to kind of safeten the game a little bit to make it so that way you're not really depicting something that you shouldn't do in real life, because I know that sometimes games do that kind of thing, like how some racing games have your character always wearing a helmet, stuff like that, because like if you're going to do something in real life, that's, you know, you should wear a helmet if you're going to race a car in real life. You should not sketch on the end of vehicles in real life if you're going to skateboard, etc. But it does feel weird that they're missing, and it especially feels weird because like I'm sure people would have given them that feedback at some point during the beta, but it's just, they're just not there. Regardless though, the skating in this game does feel pretty good. It works really well, so that's good that like the base mechanic of the game is really good, and also the parkour system of this game is really good as well. I think it's not perfect, it's a little bit silly, like your character kind of bounces around a lot off of stuff, but it works a lot better than it did in Skate 3. Skate 3 had some very light parkour mechanics, like you could kind of just jump on stuff and like jump across things, but as the lifespan of Skate 3 went on, people kind of found out ways to really use that system to reach different places in the game. This new Skate game really feels like the developers saw how much people enjoyed climbing stuff in Skate 3 and built this whole climbing mechanic around that, and it makes it easier to access like buildings and climb up stuff. It just makes it easier to navigate and to get to cooler spots to skate from. However, this game is far from perfect, and before I get into the negatives of this game, because it might sound like like I have a lot of negative things to say. I want to just emphasize that this is a free-to-play game. It is a new game in a series that a lot of people have wanted a new game in for a long time, and it does play fine. It runs well, it's fun to play, but there are a lot of things about it that I think could be improved. So for one, in terms of skating around and stuff, and some of the stuff, if you've actually watched some of my live streams, you might have heard me talk about this, because I know I've talked about it a little bit on those, but so the map of San Vanalona is actually kind of really small. It does not take long whatsoever to cross from like one corner of the map to the other, and it doesn't really feel like there's a ton of spots to skate in San Vanalona. That being said, I have noticed there was a pretty big update since the last time I played it, and I think that update actually came out not that long before I made this 15 first impressions, and it does seem like they've added some new stuff, which is cool, but something that I feel is missing a little bit from Skate right now is that in Skate 3, there were these really long stretches of area where you could skate and almost like race at the same time. So like there was the Super Ultra Mega Park, there was the quarry, there was the drainage ditch, and Skate 1 and 2 I believe also had similar things where there was these like long paths that you could skate along and get these really long lines going, and it was really cool. And it wasn't necessarily like the traditional skate park thing, but it was a really fun way to play the game. There was a lot of momentum, and I feel like San Vanalona doesn't really have as many places that are available for that as compared to previous skate games, and I think that part of that is just that San Vanalona isn't that big. Something else that feels really noticeably absent from the game right now is any real life skateboarders. I don't think I've seen any skateboarders from real life skateboarding in this game at all yet, which is odd because other skate games, that was a pretty important deal, especially Skate 3. I remember like Rob Dyrdek was in that, Andrew Reynolds was in that. There was a bunch of real life pro skateboarders in that game, and there's just none in this one. And I feel like in some ways it kind of opens up a little bit of a bigger debate that's outside of video games, which is like how prominent really is skateboarding culture in real life now anyway, because I mean there are still a lot of famous skateboarders, but you don't really see skateboarding focused media as much as you maybe once did, which kind of sucks because if you actually think about it, and this is kind of stepping outside of the realm of video games for a second here, but if you think about it, skateboarding actually influenced like a lot of media and culture for a long time. Like skateboarding is kind of like skateboarding videos are kind of where early internet videos came from, and I don't know why that is, because I feel like it's weird that there's not any real life skateboarders in it. The only things that I can think of are if it was too expensive to license the likenesses of real life skateboarders, or maybe there's been a couple of new Tony Hawk games. Maybe like there was some exclusivity contracts that some skateboarders signed to where they could only appear in Tony Hawk and then they couldn't appear in Skate. But I mean, there's really not that many other skateboarding games out there, so that would be, I don't know, that'd be kind of weird if they had to sign some sort of exclusivity contract, especially because before Skate and Tony Hawk and even other skateboarding games coexisted. There are a few NPCs though from previous Skate games that do sort of connect it back to the older Skate games. So Shingo shows up again, and he's actually in the footage a little bit. He was a cameraman in previous Skate games, and I haven't actually seen Slappy yet, but I know Slappy is mentioned, and he also is in some of the previous Skate games. But there's also a few new characters. However, one character that I absolutely need to spend a second talking about is V. So V is a sort of AI assistant character who brings you through the tutorial and then also just kind of is like a radio friend type of character throughout the game. And initially I really did not like the concept of V because, well, I'll get into it in a minute, but I will say as I've played, she has grown on me a little bit because she does have some pretty funny quotes and also has a lot of unique dialogue for as you're skating around. Like she will comment on stuff you're doing, and it actually doesn't really get annoying because she is pretty funny, and like I said, there's a lot of unique quotes that she says, so it's not just the same stuff repeated over and over again. However, at the same point, I can't help but feel a little bit, I don't know, sick of like AI and like robot characters in video games, because I don't know, you had a lot of characters with a lot of personality, like Coach Frank in Skate 3, who he leads you through the tutorial in Skate 3, and he's a really funny character as well. And then to have V be kind of the radio buddy for this game, I don't know, I feel like it's bad timing. I feel like for a long time having like a robot character as a companion character in a video game was a pretty normal thing, but I feel like in real life with the rise of AI and how frustratingly AI has been kind of shoved into everybody's life at a really annoying pace, that it's almost like, man, I really just wish that V was a human character, especially because V, even though V has some funny quotes and a lot of unique quotes, she doesn't really show very much emotion when she talks, which I think is supposed to be part of the whole, like, oh, it's an AI kind of thing. But I just feel like when you have, like, Coach Frank and other characters like that in previous games, and then now you have this sort of monotone AI character, I really wish that they could have just had V be like a person. And I should mention though that V is not like a literal AI. Like V is not a chat GPT inside of the game or anything like that. V does seem to be voice acted by a real person, and like the quotes that she makes are not generated by a computer as you play or anything, so far as I can tell. But it's just that vibe that is there. But speaking of AI, something that I do want to mention real quick. I don't know if EA actually used AI for anything in this game, but some of the character portraits in this game do have that sort of ethereal art style that a lot of AI generated art has. So I don't know. I'm not trying to say, like, I'm not saying definitively that they did use AI for anything, but some of the art in this game does look sort of AI generated. And then I think the last thing I want to mention, it does feel like the developers of this game are kind of working on making San Vanalona feel like a more thriving, like, alive city, but there's not really that much traffic. You also can't really interact with the cars at all because of the whole thing with you can't skitch, and you also can't hippie jump over cars like you could in Skate 3. Also, I don't really understand the art style of this game. The previous Skate games all had a pretty realistic art style, but this one goes almost for a like pastel kind of look, which it doesn't look bad. It actually looks kind of unique, but I do think it's a little strange that they changed up the art style like that. I don't really understand why they did that. But anyway, I've said a lot of stuff, and I want to leave you guys with some gameplay without any commentary. So thank you guys for watching this 15 first impressions. I will see you in other stuff in the future, and bye-bye.
I bet you didn't know Anchor Point is where the first residents of San Van landed. Story goes they saw seagulls flying over the crest of a cliff and figured that was as good a place as any to make landfall. Hence the name Skullcrest Village. Pretty low standards for choosing a home, but whatever. We've got a home, and it is heaven. Suitably 6 score. Nice. The next spot to check is Rolling Wave Skate Park in the Market Mile neighborhood. Are you ready for a full loop gap? It's ready for you. Feeling the tune? If you like a song from the Grabster app, I'll add it to a special playlist just for you. Rolling Waves used to be a big empty park, but the SDCC revamped it when they took over and turned it into the prime skate tourist attraction in the city. The crew in Market Mile prefers the parking lot outside, though. They say they want to keep it Raw Dog Street, yo. Whatever that means. Sweet. Done. But not done. It's time to take the tour home. Luckily, we have the Skateway. Let's go. I'll show you how to get there. We'll take it back to the Grabster stage in Hedgemont. Rolling Waves is great, huh? The Grabster app lets you control your audio experience quickly, whether you like it loud, quiet, or somewhere in between, Goldilocks style. This is the Skateway. You can get up here from every neighborhood in downtown, and it runs in a loop through the whole city. Skate any direction you're feeling. It'll all take you back to Hedgemont. The Skateway is part of the old rail line that used to end in Brixwich, but it was converted ages ago to a walkway. When the SBCC jumped in, they rigged it for skating. Now, it has straight lines for days. Back in the day, the Grabster stage used to host the best bands. hopefully they come back, now that things are on the upswing in San Van. Maybe Izzy's fave band, the Bloody Drongos, will grace the stage on their new, really final farewell, no really, tour. Alright, skateway skated, but sometimes you need to get somewhere quicker, and that's where fast travel points come in. Let me show you how they work. Picking up the pace, nice. Walking and skating are healthy and all that, but sometimes you need speedy transportation. As your neighborhood level increases, more fast travel points, or FTPs, will be revealed. How mysterious. After you unlock an FTP, you still need to initialize them by bringing your RIP card close by. Let's go. Excellent. These are super handy for fast travels around the city. Should I insert a sarcastic duh here? You've done it! I hope you enjoyed the magical musical mystery tour. Keep on finding fun new ways to get around the city. And if you're in a hurry, don't forget those FTPs. Speaking of getting around the city, what's next? Crush some challenges? See the sights? Your call. The Skater Eyes tour will be back in full swing soon. Let's have some fun.
Oh.